Hey there, this is Amar Sheth at Sales for Life, and welcome to another edition of The Social Success Factor. And I'm pleased to bring you today Dan Wegrzynowski. And this is an interesting story, right? So Dan and I connected because Dan is in the automotive dealership industry. He sells cars, and he's actually fantastic at what he does. He's considered to be one of the best. And Dan reached out to me because he has cracked the code on how to use social media. And the reason I wanted to have Dan on to tell his story is quite simple. It's because this social selling thing is not just about selling technology or telecom or software or high-powered IT solutions. This is really penetrating all different aspects of all different industries. And automotive is no exception to this rule. So Dan, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
So Dan, you're currently in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada. For those of you that are watching that don't know where Windsor is, there's always Google Maps. But Dan, you originally lived out in Calgary, in Alberta, and you had some blockbuster success. So can you walk us through a couple of the things that you've experienced as a sales professional? I mean, some of the stories you told me were just, they blew my socks off. So I'll shut up now and let you tell your story.
Okay, so basically I was working as a sales professional out in Calgary for a dealership, and I kind of just started basically social listening, I guess would be the best way to kind of put it, and started talking to people about cars. I got into the auto industry about 4 years ago and didn't know really much about cars to begin with, but I fell in love with them. And so that's kind of how I got into social media, is being able to use my digital experience that I had just kind of gained over time to really connect and meet with people on a different level. One of the successes I had was with a group of ladies from Mary Kay. And what happened was...
You're talking about Mary Kay... Sorry, Dan. You're talking about Mary Kay, the makeup company?
Yes, yeah, the makeup company
that
has a bunch of the female entrepreneurs, and they're all kind of little groups everywhere.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of door-to-door sales. And I just noticed that one of them was getting a pink vehicle, like they always do, from one of our competing dealerships. And so I simply took an interest in it because it's a pink car. It's not something you see every day. And so I said, they put out, today's the day we get the new car, and I can't wait to see a photo of it. I hope you send it to me. And then when they got there, the dealership wasn't ready for them. And so it was kind of a bit of disappointment on their end. It didn't end up being a great big to-do. So I kind of said, when you do get it, I still want to see it. And they said, we've got another one coming. Do you think we can order it through you? And so I kind of went, sure, let's figure this out. And they ended up transferring it. It was they're about an hour outside of Calgary, just south there. And they ended up coming in, and about four of the ladies and their kids ended up coming in for the delivery. But when that was kind of going on, I was able to provide updates to them about where their vehicle was in the line. I could even tell them when it was on a train. I got to the point where I was telling them, it's crossed the border into Canada today, so it'll be here soon. And then once it was all there, I was able to just, present the vehicle. They had a big party kind of thing for this lady who just got her brand new car, basically. And it was a really nice and easy way for me to I was just showing interest, and by doing that, I created a relationship with them. And sold a car fairly quickly through that way.
Yeah, Dan, that's a great story. So essentially, we heard social listening, which is an awesome skill to have as a sales professional today, to keep our eyes and our ears open in all directions at all times. Number 2, we talked about social customer service, which you've done incredibly well. But there's one new term that I guess, I don't know if I'm going to coin it today, but that I've thought of. It's social curiosity. You basically kept their interest alive through little snippets of curiosity throughout the sales process, right? So you were able to provide them a sale. So you found the prospect using social listening or social selling. You found the prospect, you engaged them, you nurtured them, you got a sale, you kept everything going until the date of delivery in terms of keeping their interest alive, and actually not just alive, you increased their level of interest. So these are great stories, because it just goes to show you folks that social media is starting to take over as a legitimate communications medium in all different aspects of the business world. This is not just consumer. This is B2B. This is all different aspects, gov, you name it, right? So Dan, that's a great story, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Are there any other examples? You had told me one example how you're talking to people just about an interest in cars that's being shared, and then you're using that as leverage. Talk to me about that story, because I think the audience would get a kick out of it.
Well, I found, like, from my brief training I did have with social media, was that I found, and it was kind of, I guess, fully understood that people don't trust companies. I found very quickly that, I'd ask someone, "Oh, what are you driving?" And they'd instantly say, "Well, not your brand." And it wasn't necessarily that I really wanted them to drive my brand. I was actually curious into what they were driving. I had one young lady who was driving a Buick, and through kind of talking to her, I found out the name of her car. And one day she tweeted out that she'd just been in an accident. So I said instantly, "Oh, are you okay?" And she, everyone's fine here. And then I was able to, because I've talked to her and kind of developed that relationship, was able to say, "How is your car, Audrey?" And she goes, "You remembered my car's name."
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was kind of flabbergasted in a way. But I used the hashtag I love cars, or we love cars, as kind of a way to disarm it, so that it wasn't just about the pitch and the sale. I kind of go on the basis that if you're following me or you're liking me or you've subscribed to my email, I don't need to sell to you because you've already taken that step, and it's only my job now to nourish the relationship so that when you are ready for that service, hopefully you think of me, and even if not, that I'm up there and you might recommend me to other people.
It's such a smart concept, Dan. Wow. I'm amazed that you're using this, because automotive sales is probably so archaic in terms of technology adoption, and it's not because it's their fault, it's just the nature of the business, right? It's very much face to face. But what you're saying is, if you incorporate social media as a way to drive more bodies into the dealership, as a way to build relationships, then these are great avenues to start the sales process, right? Because that's typically what this is. These are sales conversations. We just don't know how long in the buying journey they're going to be in. Maybe they're going to be a customer now, a year from now, or 5 years from now. But either way, one day they will end up at your doorstep to have a conversation.
Yeah, precisely. And it's, the car cycle is anywhere from 3 to 5 years generally. So, it did take a little while to start seeing the fruit of my labor. But then once it kind of started rolling, it turned into me just kind of being myself almost.
Right.
And it just kind of going through there. So I was able to find a market that really hadn't been tapped into at all. From my kind of searching and everything, I found that there was about 4 professionals in the entire area of Calgary, which is over 1 million people. And that was about it, of people who were even out there and trying to be social and not just going with the canned messages kind of thing. So it's been really, really advantageous.
That's a great story, Dan. I wish you continued success. I think if you're this innovative in an industry that's not caught up yet, I think you're going to have phenomenal success. So continued success to you, my friend. I guess before we end the interview, let me ask you a question. Do you have any words of wisdom or words of motivation for sales professionals today who are kind of, sitting on the fence? They know social media works. They just don't know where to start, how to start. What's your unadulterated view on that question? What are your words of motivation?
I don't know. I keep on referring back to a quote I see every once in a while, and that you don't pay attention. The wolf doesn't pay attention to the thoughts of the sheep, and that's it's the social media is wide open there. It's all there, and you might have a lot of naysayers, like you mentioned, that the auto industry is quite a bit far back as far as sales go. They have their set programs, and it works, so they just keep on doing it. But social gives you the opportunity to take that into a whole new area that no one's really into, and just get out there. You're not going to appeal to everyone, and that's not the point of it.
Great statement. I love it. Dan, thanks once again for being here. I would love to get caught up with you in the next couple of months to a year. Keep me informed on your progress. I think the audience is really going to enjoy this interview. So thanks again for participating, and I hope to see you soon.